So the reading from Corinthians, 1 Corinthians 13. I speak. How many of you know it, by the way? If I speak in the tongues of mortals and of angels, but do not have love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. Anybody heard that? Where do we hear it most often?
Weddings.
At weddings, right? I could probably do it by heart, the whole thing. And, you know, the irony of it all is that when Paul was stating those words, he was stating to the church in Corinth that was in complete disarray. He was talking to an early new church that was fighting amongst themselves, determining what the rules were, deciding who was in and who wasn't, setting out boundaries, working at suggesting that one group had it right and the other group didn't, and the other group was saying they had it right and yet this group didn't. And basically Paul is saying, get with it! Stop this! You're being ridiculous. And he goes on to say, if I speak in the tongues of mortals and of angels, but do not have love, I have nothing. So it doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter if you're fighting amongst yourselves. If you do not have love for one another, you are nothing but a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. He's insulting them. Get with it. Smarten up, you people. Because, he goes on to say, love. Love is patient. Patient. Love is kind. Love isn't jealous. Love isn't boastful. Love is not envious. Love is not rude. Love doesn't insist on its own way. I'm preaching to the preacher. Love, the greatest gift that we are given by God. God is love, and God gives us the capacity to love ourselves and to love each other. And yet, we constantly just mess it up. We just mess it up all the time. Whether or not we are in a relationship with those that we love the most, those people that we love the most, that we cherish the most, that we are the closest to, we find ways of messing it up. We fight about the silliest things. I'm speaking for myself. Right, Elvira? Some of the silliest things that send us off, that push our buttons, that bother us. And we do nothing but try to hurt or win the war. You know, and stick our heel in the ground and make it right. Because it's our way, that's the right way. Because I have the truth. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not jealous. Love is not boastful. Love is not envious. Love is not rude. Love is not rude. That's the essence of what it means to be a person who loves God and loves your neighbor as yourself and loves those around you the most. But as I say, we mess it up constantly. And we need to be reminded constantly of who we are and whose we are. So this stands in contrast to what Jesus is doing. Like Jesus, in the storyteller Luke, we hear Jesus having just begun his ministry. And we heard a reading last week, and we hear the last part of it today, that Jesus goes home. He goes home to Nazareth, goes home to where he grew up, and he knows everyone. And they're saying, oh, isn't it great? The prodigal son has returned. You know, he's doing good, I hear. He's doing well for himself. And look at him. He's grown up. He's doing well. And Jesus goes into the synagogue, and he begins to talk and to preach. And he says, in your hearing, these words, scriptures, are being fulfilled. Oh, that's cool. Good for him. You know, his friends are going, look at, he's doing well. He's a good public speaker. Does well. Yeah, and I can hear that. And they're actually very proud of him. And he reads these lines from Isaiah that promises release and redemption and healing for those who have been cast off by the world. And his audience, those people that have known him his entire life, seem to be well pleased by these words, and they're even proud of this hometown boy made good. But then Jesus presses on. He goes, no, that's not all. Listen to this. He says, when I talk about God, this is like what Jesus is saying to them. He says, when I talk about God coming to free the oppressed and bless the poor, he said, I'm talking about God blessing the people that you can't stand. We're talking about the people that you don't want to be near. We're talking about the people that you think are your enemies. And so he reminds them of these couple of stories from their scriptures, from the Old Testament. And the next thing that happens is they're going, what is he talking about? To love our enemies. To love those people we can't stand. I can't stand the Smiths 3 doors down. I would never have anything to do with them. Are you kidding me? They're different than us. They're not Anglicans. What we have done, what they are doing is that they're building walls. They are building walls. About 100 years ago, the poet Robert Frost wrote a poem called Mending Fences. And in that poem, there's a line that says, good fences make good neighbors. Good fences make good neighbors. The irony of the poem is that what Robert Frost is saying in the poem is, why is it necessary that good fences make good neighbors? We should be ripping our fences down. We should be finding the things that make us the same, that draw us together as one, rather than build up these fences. Just as we, in our relationships with those we love the most, build up fences in order to protect our vulnerability and our fragility so that we don't get hurt, we do it for ourselves also in our society and in our culture. Because we put up fences with people that are other than, that different than. And you know what? When we put up those fences, guess what? Jesus is on the other side. As soon as we build those fences, Jesus is on the other side. People that are different than, other than. Those people that are coming into our country. Can you imagine? Those people down the street that look different than us and act different than us and live differently than us and like different things than we do and eat different food than we do. And live by a completely different set of social standards than we do. This is my fence and they're not getting inside. These are the fences that Jesus is telling us we must tear down. And recognize that as human beings, we have more in common with each other than we have that separates. We are all the same. We feel the same way. We laugh the same way. We cry the same way. We enjoy the same kind of way of living. And yet it is the things that are different and other than that seem to be the things we define ourselves by. So it is in the context of the human family that, although it might seem a little bit sentimental to try to embrace and to love our neighbors as ourselves, it is ultimately the commandment that we have to live by and adhere to find that which makes us one and the same. We have been talking in the last number of weeks and months here about sponsoring a refugee family. I can tell you that there are those in our community who don't think that we should be, because they are other than. and different than. And we don't know what they may be like. It's a sad testimony that we can come together to worship a God that is trying to rip down the fences that we've built, to find that as fast as God rips them down in our midst, there are others of us who will build them up. It is a constant struggle that we face. So as we go from this place, let us remember that we are all the same. We feel the same. We are all people of clay feet. And remember that love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not jealous. Love is not boastful. Love is not arrogant. Love is not rude. The greatest of the charities of God is the gift of love. Thanks be to God.